back to Live Feed Read. I'm your host, Paul Reed, with my sidekick, Ed McMahon, Jason Crawford. He is feeling better after his 40th week of being sick with the kids. Evidently, this week they didn't go outside and didn't get another plague. So he's all happy and go lucky. We're here today. I was, as I do once in a blue moon, was perusing the newspaper. And I found this article that I thought was pretty funny. In fact, it was so funny, I called Brittany, who's up in Washington, D.C., and I said, I didn't know you became the clerk of court down in Fort Lauderdale. And she's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, so I'll get in that. I'll get into that in a minute.
Okay, all right.
It was pretty funny because this is Brittany. But this is, it kind of leads into, settlements and trials, be it criminal and civil. Of course, criminal trials, you get fined or you get put in jail or prison or probation, things of that nature. And civil, it's basically you pay money. I mean, that's more or less. There are a few other, divorces and things. Those are civil. But when it comes to personal injury, dog bites, medical malpractice, slip and falls, car accidents, etc., it's about money. And so then you say, well, in the criminal context, you wonder why 99% probably or more of the cases do not go to trial and they end up in a plea agreement. And what we're going to talk about, little Brittany Reed here, is kind of why. And in civil cases, what you tend to say is if you're trying a case in a personal injury, the defendant is typically trying their best case, and the plaintiff is typically trying its worst case because if there's, in the insurance company's mind or the defense attorney's mind, if there's any shot that you could win and get a pretty decent verdict, they'll tend to argue, they'll tend to offer you an amount that's at least acceptable to the point that you don't want to risk kind of what can happen when you're relying on 6 people, which is the number of people in your average criminal trial. Okay. Or I should say, I'm sorry, the average is in your juror in a civil trial is 6 people with some alternates in case somebody gets sick, somebody can't make it or otherwise. So in civil, you would be relying on 6 strangers in the county where you live. So let's just talk about Hillsborough County. Who basically have a driver's license and are not convicted felons. That's it. That's who Jason Crawford, who got bit by a dog or run over or got in a boat crash or slipped and fell, is going to rely on. They have his case in their hands, or he can, take the offer and have like a bird in the hand type of situation, a guarantee. So here's what happened in this case. So I'm reading, and it was interesting. It says, jury panel dismissed over comment by the clerk of court. And this is down in Fort Lauderdale. Now, the panel is simply this. When you go down to Hillsborough County, you'll go into a big room. There might be 200 or 300 people in that room. Yeah. So you're sitting there reading a book, playing on your phone, and you wait for your name to be called.
Yeah.
Your name's called. Okay. So, 20 or 30 people are called. And you get ushered into a courtroom and you sit in the pews and the lawyers ask you questions.
Bunch of questions.
Right. So that's the panel. So you got the big 300 people. In this case, it was about 300 people. Mm-hmm. And then you have the panel, in this case, it was 22 that got taken into a criminal trial.
Okay.
So interestingly enough,
do they tell you when you go in whether it's criminal or?
Oh yeah. They'll explain to you.
Okay, yeah.
They'll explain to you. Sure, because the questions in a criminal would be, as in this, Mr. Crawford, do you believe that just because someone is arrested by the police, they're more likely than not have done something wrong? And if you say probably, or else then why would the police be arresting you? Jason Crawford, you're dismissed. Thank you.
You've been dismissed. Yeah.
You're already skewed towards guilt.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah.
Now, if you say, just because the police arrest somebody, that doesn't mean they did anything wrong.
Right.
I have to hear the facts of the case. Jason, we love you.
Right.
Stay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that works. Well, so theoretically, unbeknownst to the Broward County Clerk of Court, whose name is Brenda Foreman, there was a criminal trial going on in this particular jurisdiction, which was a crime against one of her employees. All right. So now you got the clerk of the court, and one of her employees evidently is the victim in a trial going on in the courtroom in that building. So her job, Brenda's job, is to welcome all of the jurors, the 300 people, into the the big room and say, hey, Jason, thank you for coming. It's your civic duty. You're a good American. The Constitution allows trials in front of your peers, and without you, we couldn't do this. So your participation is greatly appreciated. Sure. And which it is, all that's true. Right. But then Jason hears Brenda say, now, I don't know if she takes the time to thank the jurors and so forth. So what does she say? Let me go.
How did she get in a room on a case where one of her own?
No, she didn't.
Oh, okay.
So right now it's 8:30 in the morning. You show up for jury duty and you go into the big room, and there's 300 of you, and Brenda Foreman, the clerk's welcoming you, thanking you, praising you, saying how important this is. Maybe explaining what a criminal trial is if you get picked for that, what a civil trial is if you get picked for that. So we're all in this room, and when she's talking to them, she says, hold on.
Yeah, that's an interesting language. Did they have anyone who spoke that language?
Hold on a second. Oh, okay. So at some point during her, the end, probably of her thanking everyone, she goes, okay, now, remember, those who do the crime have to serve the time. So while she's thanking everybody, she's basically saying, and if you get on a criminal case, you got to convict them because they got to pay for the crime that they did. Well, 22 of those people made it into, of course, the courtroom where the victim was one of her employees, and the public defender says, well, wait a minute. They've been poisoned.
So I take issue with that a little bit.
The judge agreed, and out the door they went. And that trial got continued until they get a new panel, not including any of these 300 people who heard her say, do the crime, you got to do the time.
But see, like,
welcome right into the booth.
What's really wrong with that statement, though? Like, if you do the crime, you do the time, but the jury still has to decide whether or not.
You've already put in somebody's mind that if that person is here, they must be guilty.
It's subtle, but it's so subtle, right? Like,
yeah, well, but understand, as someone who is in the business of advertising,
of course,
subtle is where it's all at.
It's a hint, yeah.
You hit my ass. Subtle, you hear stuff and it might be subliminal, and you don't even know it. So subtle is not good in a criminal trial where you're presumed innocent until proven guilty, not fry them and bake them and
so if you put those two statements
up, and you got to do the time because you're here.
So if you're Lady Justice and you're blind and you put those two statements up and you're like, you're innocent until proven guilty, remember that, right? Because I think that's what they said at one of my jury things. I remember they were like, remember innocent until proven guilty, and I'm like, okay, that's great, that makes sense, that's perfect, right? I even agree with Benjamin Franklin when he said that I would rather 1,000 guilty men go free than one innocent person be convicted. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about our system is that the challenge to convict is the challenge of the evidence, and that guilty men should get convicted, but it should be difficult to railroad an innocent person. It really should, even such so that like a guilty person goes free once in a while because the evidence just couldn't bear down. And I agree with that.
That's what it could be. And that's what, I honestly didn't know Benjamin Franklin, but in law school, that's what they said. But Texas, so they didn't say 1,000, they said 10. 1,000, no, and we go
Yeah,
with
I may
10.
be misquoting him. I may be
But
misquoting him. But yeah.
I 100% agree, and I'm not a lib, one way or the other. I mean,
Sure, no.
but you should, an innocent man should never go to prison.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that there's some massive
if you didn't
flaws
know,
in our
Jason,
system.
prisons in Florida are not air conditioned.
What?
Oh yeah, no.
Ooh.
So in July, you're sitting there in your bunk. Yeah. So I don't. Innocent people should not go to prison.
Yeah,
So
no. Stay out.
But either way,
you know what? They're gonna start launching campaigns toward youth, targeting youth, being like, "Hey, you don't want to go to prison. They don't have AC." And all the people in Florida are gonna be like, "No, we're straightening up. We're on the narrow path from now on."
I gotta be honest, and it's funny, and I don't do it. Back when I was a senior, we had some. It was a law class. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a law class, and we went to Stark. To Union Correctional Institute for the class. And I got news for you. I personally think every single, 11, 12, or 13 young person should go
for sure.
and have a little walkthrough. Not a scared straight where they're in the same. You don't have to. You can just see it and say, oh, no.
I think that'd be great. I think that'd be awesome. I think that would be awesome.
TV does not represent what the prisons in Florida look like. I can tell you that much.
If I might be so bold as to say, oh, hell no.
Did I so whatever, they should, because when you see that, you may think twice out, that did not, no bueno, the old Florida prison system,
Yeah, I recently saw a video.
So, all right, well, we knocked that one out. It's raining.
That was a good topic.
Forever. It's pretty funny. If you come across something, I don't mind because it certainly ties in back to why do you settle cases in a civil? Because you don't know what these jurors are thinking, and most of the time, it has nothing to do with your case.
Yeah, for sure.
All they're doing is sitting there wondering what's on my phone that I can't access because you take their phones away. Right. What's on my social media? What's on my Facebook? What do I got to do? Why are you making me miss work?
Yeah, there's a lot of discomfort.
Why am I sitting in this uncomfortable seat? And why do I want to give you lots of money? I mean, so if they offer you, something that's reasonable, you probably should take it because the risk of trials is huge. Period. Not that you don't try cases, because you have to do that also to send a message that, hey, look, you want to be fair and treat my client, with a respect that they deserve, and offer them the amount of money they deserve. You try the case.
Yeah, especially if you're an attorney, you have to build a reputation.
And that's where, that's it. And that's where you have to spend literally hours, and I kid you not, hours picking the jury to weed out those who, are going to basically, to the best of your knowledge, not be favorable to your position. Yeah. And so you really, it's not a 30-minute process. It's hours, and just that simple. It can be days even.
And then they just toss it.
Jeez. I was up in real quickly, and I was up in one. It was a tough one. It was motorcycle crash. Long story short, it was in Pasco County, and it was difficult. And when I saw the foreman come out holding the old George Bush book, I started packing up. I knew we're done. We lost. Now the foreman's got the George Bush book. Okay, and we're in Pasco County. Very tough jurisdiction. The farther you get away from the big cities, Tampa, Orlando's, Miami's, and the more you get into rural America, very difficult to get any significant
damages.
Very
interesting. Very interesting.
Well, dude, if you make
a topic for another time, but I'm curious to know why.
It's easy. Never mind. We can talk about that. I can go on for days on that one.
Yeah.
Because I've tried cases in 8 different counties, from Polk, Pasco, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, Sarasota. What's Sebring? Sebring is Highlands. Orlando, Orange. So yeah, I've tried cases in the big cities, so to speak, in the rural counties where, swear to God, you take off the Rolex and you put on the boots, and the yawls come out in full force and effect.
Wow. Yeah. It's a different language, different world.
You put on the polyester, say, I'm here, baby.
Wow. Don a British accent, and so you can get it thrown out.
Well, no, you draw a redneck accent, which I can do.
No, I was teasing. Yeah.
Y'all ain't gonna believe what the government trying to do to this man right here. Oh, I can bring it home. All right, enough of that. Weekend's coming up. Everybody be safe. We love you, and we will see you next week, God willing.
Yep, it's like having a lawyer in the family.
All right, we out.